Can financial astrology be proven? That is the question that we're going to ask in this video. And many people don't know this, but there are actually only 4 large planets in our solar system. And these 4 large planets are Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune. Now you might think now about Pluto, but Pluto is very tiny compared to any of these 4 large planets. I think Pluto is like 1% of the size of Jupiter. And the Earth is also significantly smaller than any of these 4 large planets. And the Earth is the biggest of the 4 small planets, which are Venus, Mercury and Mars. And of course the Earth is like 10 times bigger than Pluto. But the Earth is like tiny compared to the 4 gas giants, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune. So if you would approach our solar system from a spaceship, you would see the Sun in the middle of our solar system, and then you would see surrounded it by Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune, the 4 big planets. And as in financial astrology, size matters. Yeah, people are measured by how much money they manage or how much money they earn. Well, then we should also use these 4 large planets and the Sun at the center to prove the validity of financial astrology. That's what we're going to do in this video. So here's the Sun, and this is the day of the biggest crash in history. It's called Black Tuesday. It was October 29, 1929. And on the day before, I just moved the Sun per 1 day. Or basically, I moved the horoscope by 1 day. The Sun moves around 1 degree per day because there's 365 days in a year. And there are 360 degrees in the astrological circle. Yeah, so actually our calendar was formed after this circle, or the circle was formed after the calendar based on the movement of the Sun. And takes the Sun 360 degrees to go to the same position in the zodiac again. And as a result, the Sun moves 1 degree per day. So the Sun rules the day in astrology. So if there is a bad day in astrology or a good day in astrology, then the Sun should be affected. And how would the Sun be affected? It would be affected by the 4 other planets. Now, in this time of October 29, and in this chart I have here 2 midpoints. The first one is the midpoint of Uranus and Neptune. It's here in the sign Gemini, which is the 3rd sign in astrology. And I can prove that because Uranus and Neptune, I will bring it into the picture here. These are, this is Pluto, this is Uranus and this is Neptune. So the midpoint is here. And then we have here another midpoint. That is the midpoint of Jupiter and Saturn. This is Jupiter and this is Saturn, and their midpoint is here. So we have 2 midpoints. And now we do a trick. We click here, and on comes this point, which we call the midpoint of Jupiter, Saturn and Uranus, Neptune. So it's the midpoint of these 4 planets. And these 4 planets were the midpoints were in square. You can actually express the midpoint of these 4 planets also with some other combinations here. Yeah, so here this is Saturn, Neptune, and this is Jupiter, Uranus. And you see that these, it's again that these 4 planets were also they were in opposition. And the midpoint of this opposition was this point here, which could also be here at 5.9 degrees. Yeah, so not only was Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus, Neptune in square, but also Jupiter, Uranus was opposite to Saturn, Neptune. And the final combination is Saturn, Uranus, and Jupiter, Neptune. Yeah, it's like this combination, and this combination also makes like a midpoint at 5.9. So no matter how you use like these 6 planets and the midpoints they form, to draw a combination, you will always get at this point here 5.9 degrees of the zodiac. You could also get a square position. You could also say, okay, this midpoint is like square. It could also be here 5.9, but it will always be at 5.9 degree. And that is a unique property of 4 planets. And I believe that there are 4 planets in our solar system by design, by heavenly design. Because with 3 planets, you cannot, or with 5 planets, you cannot have like one point always at the same degree of the zodiac when you do the math. For example, with 3 planets, you have like 4 possible midpoints that you can create. While with 4 planets, you only have like 1 point, and that is this point here. So I will now like uncheck these 2 points here, and I only leave these 2 points, and we'll see that on this day, only on this day, on the day of the crash, the Sun triggered the square between the 4 other outer planets, between Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus, Neptune. So now we go before the crash, 4.9. This point moves very slowly. It's still at 5.9. Day of the crash, day after the crash. So you see, only on this day, the day of the crash, did the Sun trigger the square. And this proves that this day was special in the stars as it was special on Earth. Now, if you're like a skeptic, you might say, yes, I know, but don't you know that there was like a bigger low? There was like a bigger low. You know, October 29 was the crash. Then we had a rally for 2 days, but then the market like went further down until a low on November 13. This was then a very big swing low. So, okay, good. On October 9, we had on October 29, I could prove like that this was a very special day, but can I also show that November 13 was a very special day? Because this was a very important swing low. And that's what traders are interested. Traders want to buy like the swing low. So that's what we do now. We go here to November 13. And we set now the day. And as we see now, the Sun here is also in an aspect, and it's called a 24 harmonic aspect, because astrology, we divide the circle into 12 parts. This is like here, but we can also divide the circle into 24 parts. This is what I do now. So here I have like divided the circle into 24 parts, and when I do this, I see immediately that this square between Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus, Neptune is still in effect. And on October 13, the day of the crash, the Sun is exactly in opposition to that square on the 24th harmonic. So when we look like before, on November 12th, the Sun wasn't in aspect. We look on November 13, that was the day of the swing low in the Dow Jones. The Sun now is in aspect, and we look on November 14, the Sun was not in aspect to this point, because it was already at 6.9 degrees. So this proves that by knowing a little bit of financial astrology, the 4 planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and the Sun, you could have pinpointed the greatest crash in history and the following swing low to the exact date. Now, I believe that these 4 large planets, they carry a lot of weight. In fact, astronomers tell us that the weight of Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune is so much bigger and the sun than any other planets, including the Earth. And that makes these 4 planets so special. Because as I will later show, whenever something big happens, whether it's in gold or in bonds or in the stock market or in Bitcoin, then the sun and these 4 planets will have a central role. And this proves that financial astrology works. So subscribe to this channel and watch the next video where I'm going to explain the crash of 1987, of October 1987, using the sun and the 4 planets.